it will continue to support the Zambian government as well as former President Edgar Lungu's family amid a diplomatic row. Now, International Relations Minister Ronald Lamola has wrapped up a trip to Lusaka where he met President Hakainde Hichilema. Lamola conveyed President Cyril Ramaphosa's condolences following Lungu's death. South African government has backed calls for a state burial as a fitting tribute to Lungu's leadership as well as his service to Zambia. However, Lamola says there's a need to balance this with the wishes of Lungu's family. Last week, the repatriation of Lungu's body from South Africa was abruptly cancelled by his family following uncertainty about where he would be buried. Now, the former statesman will be buried here in South Africa in what will be a private ceremony. All right, let's speak now to Crispin Phiri, spokesperson for the Department of International Relations, joining me now in studio. Crispin, thank you so much for the time. This must be an interesting one. I'm not sure if South Africa has ever done this before, but to ultimately help in the burial of a former president of an African country then, in which the family has decided not to repatriate the body back to Zambia. How exactly does South Africa deal with this from a diplomatic point of view, considering Minister Lamola's visit as well to Lusaka?
Yes, thank you for having me. And that was precisely the purpose of Minister Lamola's visit to Lusaka, to firstly share the country's condolences on the passing of President Lungu, and also to say that South Africa does acknowledge the importance of a nation burying their former president. However, at this stage, we are bound legally to follow what the family requires, and we would then have to leave it there with the family's obligations or the family's wishes. But this also comes on the back of us having legal obligations to honor the family's wishes as they are resident in South Africa. So that then comes with some attendant rights as well in terms of some various legislations that would apply in these processes. So that is where we stand on the matter. But it should not be seen in any way as us not wishing to respect the Zambian government's wishes or disrespectful to the Zambian nation as well.
What has the Zambian government actually said with regards to this? Have they made note of this at all? Have they spoken ill of the decision made by the family?
You'd have seen that the president issued a statement saying they apologized to the South African Defence Force because there was a full ceremony that we had agreed to embark on for President Lungu's send-off, the late president. And unfortunately, this could no longer take place. So from where we stand, it does seem as though the Zambian authorities do understand that this is not a decision of the government at all, and it's not a reflection of the government's decision. But there is an appreciation that we have to respect the family's wishes.
Crispin, I don't know if you're able to share with us a little bit, but I guess it's trying to understand what exactly the issues were with where President Lungu would be buried. Or was it a matter of they're not sure for security reasons where he'd be buried? Or was it just a case of not being sure traditionally about his whereabouts because parts of the family, indeed, as you said, have that South African citizenship too?
No, I think that would be a matter mainly for the family and the Zambian government to explain. But from our side, as we understand it, that there was an agreement that he could be repatriated. And then upon them looking at what the ceremony would entail, on the other side, that is where then the family raised some concerns and took a view not to repatriate former president. And that's how we understand it. But initially there was agreement and the family did understand as well that it may be a fitting tribute to President Lungu for the nation of the Zambian people to continue to mourn him as well, but also to see him off to his last resting place. Relations between South Africa and Zambia then, ultimately, are we still saying that they're still really great at this stage? They're still okay, considering that Minister Lamola was indeed received by the president of Zambia? I mean, the fact that he was sent as a special envoy by President Ramaphosa to convey this message really shows at what level we place Zambia at and the sensitivity at which we regard this issue around. So Zambia remains a very, very important nation to us, both moving forward and bilaterally, and that is why Minister Lamola presented himself as a special envoy.
So explain to us exactly how will this funeral work. It's meant to be a private ceremony, but at the same time, there was the request or the possible need or desire for it to be I think a category 1 funeral as well in the country. How exactly will it be working? Will it be a private ceremony of the same stature, or how will it work?
So normally official funerals come with other obligations of the state. For example, the flag that is required to be placed on a coffin would normally be the South African flag, and our military would salute the flag and hand over such a 100%. Flag to the mourner. In this instance, because it would be a foreign head of state, that would be unprecedented for our military officials to be saluting a flag that is not of the sovereign state. So there are those complications. And we would be really looking at how our policy would apply. Normally it would apply to a very particular domestic setting. This is entirely, completely unprecedented. And even the categorization of an official funeral is done normally for someone who has served the nation. And it's a scent of fitting of someone who has served the nation. In this instance, it would be a bit difficult to look at it in that same light. Sure. But of course, we do understand that this is a former head of state. So I think there would be those sensitivities at place. But sitting here right now, I cannot categorically say what and how this would then take place.
Do you know at all if President Cyril Ramaphosa will be in attendance?
I'm not privy yet to that aspect.
Yeah. All right. Fair enough.